Today is not a good day, Heat Nation. At least not for me, because I kind of threw the entire house on Jimmy Butler to show up bald at plus 265. I thought it was really good odds, but instead Jimmy Butler showed up completely normal. But at least he showed up at all, because that was kind of a big question going into earlier today. It was kind of a whole thing, so I'll share my thoughts on that a little bit later in the video. But anyways, today was Miami Heat Media Day. Thank God Heat basketball is back, because in just a few short hours, I have to watch the Miami Dolphins roll out Tyler Huntley. And while I do expect that to go better than Skylar Thompson, I can't say I'm too hopeful. But anyways, the Dolphins can no longer ruin my week, because Heat basketball is back. And it was overall a generally pretty positive media day with a lot of stuff that we're going to get into. I will say I was able to watch the first 3 interviews. That was Spo, Bam, and Tyler, because they were live streaming them on their YouTube channel, which was pretty cool this year. And after Tyler was done speaking, I'm thinking Jimmy's about to come up. But instead, they put up a graphic that says, "Thanks for watching." So we're like, what the hell's going on? I'm reading all the comments of the live stream. And actually, I do want to say it was unfortunately right at that time. That's when the Mutombo news passed. Unfortunately, he passed away. So I do just want to say rest in peace to the legend. My condolences, his family and everyone involved over there. But after that situation, I kind of took to Twitter. And that's when the news was sort of coming out that Jimmy was not there. He was going to be late because of apparently some flight issue. Now, there's a lot of sides to that, where some people, the more optimistic side, might say, oh, well, it could just be a bad coincidence. Jimmy, they had some flight issues. He couldn't make it in time. He'll be there later. But the timing on that coincidence is a bit bad, you might admit, when you consider all the drama and all the things surrounding him this offseason. This was not the time to miss Media Day, especially since he has made kind of a big deal over it the last couple years. Obviously, last year specifically was a spectacle with the emo Jimmy, and I do think that was a very calculated move by him. I think everything by Jimmy is very calculated. So I was a bit concerned, but they said he would be speaking later in the day, and he did end up speaking. So we'll get into that later. I do want to start by talking about Ira Spoesltra, because he was the first person that we heard today, and immediately he kind of gave us our injury reports going into training camp. Now, they're healthy, as they should be. You just had a long offseason, a very long offseason, might I add. So you should have everyone healthy. Now, the topic surrounding this Heat team's health has been very annoying to me, because everyone is always saying, if only the Heat were healthy. And you've been saying that for 5 years now. At some point, you got to realize it just might not work. Even Udonis Haslam, who's been doing his media rounds over the last several months, love the podcast OGs with him and Mike Miller. Listen to every single episode. When you detox, I listen, and so should you. But when they do ask him about his outlook on the Miami Heat going into this season, he's obviously very optimistic, as he should be, but he always says it's because we're healthy now. And I always found that a bit weird, because of course you're healthy. Every team should be healthy going into the season. But I just don't think you can kind of assume that health going forward, which is something that has annoyed me. But anyways, Spoelstra did come out the gates today saying that Terry Rozier is ready to go. We do know he was cleared for 5-on-5 recently. So that wasn't great news to hear, that up until a couple weeks ago, he still wasn't cleared for 5-on-5, especially when you consider the nature of his injury, which was weird. We had no idea what the hell was going on with him. We don't know how his neck injury occurred. We just knew it happened. One day he was playing, and then he didn't play for the rest of the season. So that is scary, because when you talk about a prognosis, we have no idea if it could reoccur. But the good news is he is ready right now, as is Duncan Robinson, whose back seems to be 100% healed. And same with Terry. Hopefully that's something that doesn't flare up later. The one downside when it comes to the injury report is Josh Richardson, who at this time is not quite ready yet. But he was at media today, and he seemed to be in good spirits. So just wishing the best success to this Heat team with regards to injuries coming into the season. Now, the funniest quote of the day was probably from Ira Spoelstra, because he got a question from Ira Winderman, who asked about the improving East with Karl Anthony Towns to New York and Paul George to Philly. And immediately, Spoelstra responds to that by saying, "You sound scared."
You sound scared.
Which I did like that quote a lot. You can kind of tell, and I've heard some things too. the guys in the Heat organization don't really like Ira Winderman for some reason. I don't know why. It was even funny after Tyler's press conference was done. While he was leaving, he looked at Ira and he said, "No questions today, Ira? What happened?" And it was a bit of a snarky but funny response in that regard. But anyways, Spo kind of clapped back at Ira there and said, "You sound scared." And then he went into this great monologue that was basically just talking about, the quote he said was, "Be about competition." Basically saying, if you're scared because other teams are better than you on paper, then you are not made for this organization. And obviously, he's in a sense preaching that Heat toughness and that comes with the culture. And I love that about this organization because they only get guys on the team who want to compete. And I think it's important to kind of build that mindset when trying to win a championship. Now, the annoying part as a Heat fan is it seems like the Heat go a little too much into that toughness mindset route and not enough into the talent route when trying to acquire or get players in an acquisition or whatever. But they should be getting guys that are talented and have that toughness mindset. But that's a whole other roster building issue, so I digress. Point is, Spoelstra seems confident as ever. You'd expect nothing less, so I love to hear that from him. And then, of course, he was asked about Jimmy Butler because that was going to be the biggest story coming into this media day. And I want to read his full quote here because I thought it was very interesting. He says, "Jimmy's in a good place coming into camp. He's at a point now where he needs me to coach the team at a high level. He needs me to coach him at a higher level, and I need him to be at his highest level." Look at it. Whoever tweeted this out put a typo. Now they're confusing me. But basically said, and I need him to be at his highest level as a player and a leader. So what Spoelstra is kind of saying is that it's a give and take, a quid pro quo, if you will, in which they both need each other to be better. So Spo wasn't necessarily giving him a pass, but he's also saying it's not just on you. He's holding himself accountable as well. And the accountability that this organization has for themselves is another reason why they've been relatively successful to other teams. So I do like hearing that from Spo as well. Now, some other interesting questions he got was, of course, about the starting lineup. And while he was obviously non-committal about that, he did make it a point to say that he wants to see more of Terry, Tyler, Jimmy, and Bam, because we didn't see a lot of that last year because Terry came in halfway through the year. There was, of course, a lot of injuries. What we did see wasn't great, and theoretically, the fit between a Terry and Tyler backcourt doesn't seem to work all that well either. But I do think that was an inclination by Spo that that's at least how we're going to start the season, with those four in the starting lineup, and then either Jovic or Hayward or who knows at that point. I did listen to Tyler's press conference as well, and he did say that for that lineup to work, he'd have to get better at playing off ball. I thought that was an interesting remark by him, obviously very unselfish. Tyler Herro, truthfully, in my opinion, won the press conference today. Even Spoelstra said that Tyler did everything that was asked of him. Spo said that they were in constant contact, and I love to hear that about Tyler because there's been times in the past where he said things like he wants to be a starter, and he just wasn't so warmed up to the idea of maybe coming off the bench. But this media day was a complete reversal of all of that. I have Tyler Herro's couple quotes from him today as well, because this is what you love to hear. Quite literally the perfect response that Tyler gave when asked about if he should be a starter. And he basically said that he said, "Whatever they say I am is what I am. We're going to let the best coach in the league decide and one of the best GMs ever to decide. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to win a championship." And then when Tyler Herro was asked about his mindset this year, he said, "Last year, I came in saying I want to average 25 points per game. I'm just here to play. Whatever I end up averaging, I end up averaging. Not here to push any agendas like all-star or anything." So again, the perfect response from Tyler Herro. You can see a lot of growth in himself as, from a maturity standpoint, which, he's still a young kid. And although I've been critical of him at times, I have always put into perspective his age, and he's allowed to get better. Although on the court, there hasn't been any drastic improvements recently. I do think this mindset shift that we're hearing in this media day will go a long way, particularly since they're going to have a bit of a loaded backcourt, at least starting, right? And then outside of that, physically, it seems like Tyler Herro is doing a lot better. He says he's up from 189 pounds to 201 pounds. And then he basically said he did that by eating a lot of food. He quite literally said that he was eating everything this summer. So it was nice to hear that me and Tyler Herro had the same workout plan this summer, because I was pretty much eating everything as well. So maybe I'll be out there shooting like Tyler Herro next season. We'll see. Moving on, though, of course, we heard from Bam Adebayo. Not too many interesting quotes from him. He obviously is very good at the coach speak, I'd say, which you like from a captain. You know, he's never going to give you too much. He did say that he didn't pick to be captain. UD forced him into that role, but I think that's because UD knows Bam has what it takes to be a captain. So I love to hear Bam stepping into that role and not shying away from it. A couple of the things that he said was, one, he said he's excited to play with Khalil Ware. We've heard that during the draft, but just for him to reiterate today that he's really excited about the idea of playing with a 7-footer. I think we will see a lot of that. Maybe not a lot of that from Spo this year, but we will see spurts where we do get to see Ware and Bam together. Bam joked, ending that portion of his speech, saying that he hopes Ware gets a lot of playing time, because Spo didn't give Bam a lot of playing time as a rookie. But I do think we get to see a lot of that, and probably Ware will just be, limited in his role. We're not going to see him shoot in the post fadeaways or the 3-pointers. He'll be a lob threat, sort of like a Derek Lively, and then maybe 3-4 years from now is where we really start to see his game expand. Even Khalil Ware said today that he already told the entire team, just throw it up there, I'm going to go up and get it. So it was nice to see Ware kind of getting along with his teammates there. And then towards the end of Bam's press conference, you heard someone from the background yell, "I'm here." And then Bam says, "Oh, y'all know who that is." And apparently it was Jimmy Butler finally arriving. So basically, let's talk about Jimmy Butler. He supposedly had the plane issues, and then he was going to speak later today. Media day started at about 10 a.m. He showed up around 2:30, which was shortly before media day was closing. So a lot of people were freaking out. And while I'm going to say I wasn't freaking out, I was concerned, because I understand things happen and this could have just been a bad coincidence. But I do feel like maybe he should have known to try to get back 2-3 days ago, just to make sure he was back on time, because I do think this media day is pretty important. But I don't know what he has going on in his personal life, so I'm not going to sit here and say he should have been here 3 days ago. But anyways, he did end up making it to media day, and I was very interested how he would treat this media day. Now, a couple of days ago on my podcast, I said that I would like him to, do something goofy the hair, because it would show that he was in good spirits amongst the contract negotiation talks. But then I listened to Ethan Skolnick's podcast, and his opinion was that best case scenario, Jimmy shows up to training camp normally and ready to work, while also saying the right things. And Ethan basically said he believes that's most beneficial, because he knows the front office isn't super happy with Jimmy's antics. So if he does come into this more serious, he understands that maybe it's time to actually take the game more seriously, because, he obviously sat out a lot of games last year, whether he was healthy or not. There's some debate amongst that, but it does seem like the front office wants him to take this on more seriously. So Jimmy actually listening to that sentiment would be a good thing, as long as he's also saying the right things, saying that he wants to be here, saying he wants to win, not basically saying, we'll see what happens, give me my money, just sort of things, saying things like that could start up a lot of controversy. And I agree with that. Once I listened to Ethan, I said, you know what? It probably is best if Jimmy just shows up normally and ready to work. And that's what we got today. I really think we got best case scenario from Jimmy Butler. I believe this was the tweet from Barry Jackson, where he kind of summed it up pretty well. And he said, Jimmy Butler acting like a total pro and saying all the right things just now, made no issue of contract, and he understands that Riley wanted him to play more games, and he didn't object to Riley's shut your mouth comment. Says he just wants to hoop and wants to win here. And a couple of the quotes that we got from Jimmy today, which I also love to hear, was he said, an extension is just a couple dollars. I'm cool. I'm telling y'all, I just want to play basketball. I want to be available like I was talking about. And I plan on being better. I plan on us winning a bunch of games. Those 3 quotes right there really summarize his mindset coming to the season, which I think is best case scenario. I mean, he quite literally said an extension is just a couple dollars. A lot of guys might have went to media today and wanted to hold out or publicly demanded they get paid, what they think they're worth, which is certainly fair to think. I do think these guys should get paid what they think they're worth. but I believe Jimmy's having a lot of these conversations behind the scenes, handling it like a professional, and he's just ready to win a championship, which we know has always been his ultimate goal. So I love what we heard from Jimmy Butler today, and overall, it's a bit of a weight off the shoulders because I was concerned kind of where his mind's at because we don't know. We've obviously heard a lot of rumors surrounding Jimmy, and we had no idea what he was thinking. Now, it's easy to talk about it. Now you got to be out there, be about it, go out there on the court, give it all 100%. When you're healthy, play, and we'll see what happens. Because if Jimmy is active and engaged, there's not many players in the league better than him. So outside of the main guys, we heard the young guys talk. Nasir Little basically said that he worked out for 4 teams, and he picked the Miami Heat because they valued him over everyone else. I love to hear that from him. Obviously, I think young guys in the league that were maybe casted away or didn't, immediately live up to their potential, I think they look at how successful the Heat are at developing young players and want that for themselves. They see what the Heat did for undrafted guys even, like Duncan Robinson, like Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, and they know the Heat can really get the most out of them. I love that Nasir Little can see that. And while he's not officially on the main roster and they can't sign him outright because of, cap reasons, maybe they make it work, shed some salary elsewhere, and are able to fit him on the contract because he does have the defensive tools that this Heat team likes in their wing players. And if they could develop his shot a little bit, maybe he can be a Caleb Martin type player. But we also heard from the young guys. Pelle Larsson, Kashad Johnson said they've been watching film. Of course, they're ready to work. Nikola Jovic gave great answers as well. Said he understands he's not going to be a 20-point per game scorer. He's not going to get the ball a lot, but he's ready to work off ball, do whatever he needs to do to fit in this team, play defense. Love everything from him. And Jaime Jaquez sounded confident as ever, saying he's going to continue hunting mismatches, and he's just ready to stay aggressive in whatever role he plays, likely off the bench. And I like to hear that from the young guy because he is such a capable scorer, but they just got plenty of other scorers on this team with a larger reputation like Tyler, Terry, Jimmy, Bam. So I do hope Jaime does get his chance to kind of ball out because I think he is capable of scoring 15 plus points a game this season. So as I said, overall positive press conference does give me kind of some optimism going to the season. Our guy Naveen Ganglani, I think is how you pronounce it. He summarized it pretty well in this tweet where he said, Jimmy seems to be on the same page as Heat and Pat. Spo seems fired up. Definitely added maturity in Bam and Herro. Young guys with a ton of potential. Starting to like the energy around this team. Maybe it's just media day, but I miss watching them hoop. That's exactly how I feel as well. Couldn't have said it better myself. So I do have a lot of optimism going into this season. So that's all I got to say for this video. Make sure y'all like and subscribe and let me know your thoughts down below. Are you satisfied with Tyler's answers? Are you satisfied with Jimmy's answers? I will be reading everyone's comments and responding to everyone that I can. Again, all the support is greatly appreciated, and I'll see y'all with a post game tonight of Dolphins Titans if I don't fall asleep by the end of it. But I'll see y'all later. Peace out.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.